And welcome back to the Leader in You podcast brought to you by EMC Leaders. My name is Polina, and I co host this amazing podcast with the wonderful Dr. Lola Gershfeld.
Hello, Polina. Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome to our podcast. It is so nice to be here with you.
Yes, it's the new year. Happy New Year. We're so grateful to be back. We were just talking about how we don't want to skip any weeks recording the podcast. We want to record every single week. We just love it so much for 52 weeks this year. So we're very excited to be here. And of course, as always, we have a very exciting topic today. Drum roll, please. I always feel like I want to come on and sing, because I get so excited talking about this stuff. But also, I'm very excited mostly because I get to do this podcast with you, Mom.
You're thank you, Polina. And
Yeah.
I get excited because I have such amazing conversations and experiences with you as well. You lift up my world.
Yay, I love this. And actually, the reason why I want to share that is because I'm so grateful for our relationship. And I'm so grateful for the positive impact that you've had on my life. And all of this to lead to the topic today. And we really couldn't have gotten to where we are in our relationship if we didn't have the process that you've taken and turned into this incredible way to communicate in the business world. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you, Polina. And it's a lot of people I hear that who learn the EMC process. They say that their personal relationships improve. So definitely it helps when you experience it yourself. When you teach it, it's good idea to use it, right? And I always say you cannot really tell people to do something if you're not doing it yourself. So I'm excited and I'm so happy that you're open in doing the process. And I love that we have the process. It's always, we always going back to the process whenever we get stuck, and the process takes us out of stuck place.
Well, that just leads me to the topic of today's podcast. So it is the new year, and everyone is talking about new resolutions, new year, new me, all the ways that they can implement improving their life. And yes, this is a podcast called The Leader in You for a reason, because what we want to do here is we want to fuel that part of you inside your body that brings out those leadership qualities, that gets you to become the greatest leader possible. Because I can tell you right now that most leaders don't have this skill of being able to regulate, de-escalate, understand what's going on with them emotionally, and to communicate in a way that can positively impact relationships in the workplace. So, since it's the new year, I thought we can talk about, and specifically want to hear from you, what are some of the a micro something habit that these leaders that are listening can implement every single day to improve and feed their new year, new me, New Year's goals, resolution to create thriving environments. Let's just talk on a small step scale. What is something that they can do?
Well, I would say that that's easy because the very first thing is to slow down, right? That's a slow down, because it's so hard for us to slow down when we see somebody's getting overwhelmed. We get overwhelmed. We want to fix things. We want to provide an opinion. We want to provide a solution. And it's hard for us to actually slow down and hold the space for people. I find that myself hard to do. And so I think on a micro scale, it's challenging for people to slow things down and just be there with people.
So, like, let's say I was to implement this into my day to day experiences. Because, you hear about like, go to meditation, go to yoga, do breathing, understand like your stress levels. Like, so how can someone tangibly take that in? What do you mean by slow down? In what context? What would be like a good way for someone to take that and be like, okay, I'm going to slow down? Because I think slowing down as an individual by ourselves, right? Like if we identify our day to day life as what we are doing every single day, separate from interactions from other people in this world, we can say, yeah, I'm going to have a slow morning. I'm going to drink coffee slowly. I'm going to do some meditation breathing slowly. I'm going to slowly get dressed. Like all of those can be implemented in that way. But that's not what we're talking about here, right?
No, no, that's not what we're talking about there.
What are we talking about when we say the very first step is slowing down?
I would say that slowing down, what we're talking about is holding your balance. Holding your balance when you hear someone share their experience and slowing things down, just tuning into what's going on for them. I'm learning right now, and I've done this before, but I love, as you know, Argentine tango. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning, I'm taking lessons now from this amazing teacher. She's very in tune to what's going on. And she keeps telling me, you have to hold your balance. You can't, when you are embracing your partner, you can't lean on them too much because then it will get you out of balance. It would get them out of balance. So it's very important. And when I practice and I'm tuning into the music, and I'm holding my balance. It's hard because you're wobbly, you're trying to, put your foot forward or back, and you need to know how to take your axis and move it forward, move it back with your step. So I feel the same thing with when people interact with each other, they have to learn how to keep their balance so they can co-regulate each other's emotions, and that's what slowing down is. We we don't teach this to people, unfortunately, and we don't know how to do that. We go so fast, we go right away to trying to fix it because we start to feel anxious when we hear
Mm-hmm.
somebody, worried or upset, or they start talking fast. We start to feel that anxiety.
Yes.
And when we can actually tune into what's going on for us in that moment, we can tune what's going on in our body, we start to slow things down for ourselves. And we actually can hold that space for the other person to just be there for them instead of fixing it for them. So I feel like slowing it down means learning how to hold your balance.
So that's such a really interesting point. So when I used to teach yoga, and we would get into tree pose, I would tell my students, if we knew how to balance in tree pose, we wouldn't need to, or we knew how to balance in general, like in our practice, we really wouldn't need to come to yoga. And that the word balance doesn't necessarily mean to stay still, right? Like sometimes
Right.
I think people look at the word balance and it's like, oh, I just need to like make sure that everything's like the scale is just perfect, right? But that's not actually what balancing means. Balancing means because you're going to in tree pose, for example, if we look at it in a more like representative way, you got to shift a little forward with your weight. You got to shift a little back with your weight. You got to shift a little to the left. You got to shift a little to the right. But you have to have you have to have this flexibility, right? You have to have this flexibility to move easily from left to right, forward and back. And this is kind of like the way that you actually find balance. You can stand in balance when you have the flexibility to move a little to the left, move a little to the right, move a little back, move a little forward. When we are not able to have this flexibility, that's when we lose our balance. We get thrown off balance. And same thing with dancing, right? Like we have to be able to hold ourselves, but we have to be able to move forward with the partner. We have to be able to move back with the partner. We have to be able to move to the left. We have to be able to move to the right. Because like if we're just like stuck in this one position of straight, rigidity, then we won't be able to have that balance, right?
Yeah,
And then,
absolutely, Polina. Hmm.
yeah, I want to just add, it's like, so we get into a conversation or a situation or a conflict, or it could just be like a simple conversation with an employee or a coworker. And let's say, emotionally speaking, we get thrown off balance. We could be falling out of tree pose, right? And then when we fall out of the pose, we're like, okay, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to get up and try again. And when you have a newer relationship and you don't necessarily know how to pick yourself back up, if it's a rough fall, then it impacts the relationship, over time immensely, as opposed to knowing how to take the process and being, okay, wait a second, like, oh, that threw me off balance. Let me slow down and bring it back to balance and see what's going on with me so I can get back into that space of staying, but also being flexible and moving around and forward and back and side to side. So I think it's a good point to say to slow down, because when we move quickly through that, the rigidity starts because we're moving so quickly. We cannot quickly balance, in that pose, in that dance, whatever it is. I
Well, I
actually have
love the
really
word
good.
flexibility, actually,
Yes.
what you mentioned, because that's exactly what happens to us when we are in balance. We can be more flexible. And how do we become I mean, the flexibility really comes from when you are open to your own experience, when you're open, when you can move left and right and forward and back. I remember working with this particular team, and one particular person, the marketing, I think, manager, was so rigid when because he was
Mhm.
so out of balance. He felt so disconnected from his team that no matter what other colleagues or peers would tell him, he would be very rigid. He was not flexible at all. And they were struggling with that because they didn't know how to open his mind up to try new things or to try to think out of the box. He was so stuck in his own way. So, what's interesting, it's once he was able to slow down, really recognize what's going on for him, how he was hurt, and repair that hurt with the people that he was working with, he started to become more flexible. He regained his balance so he can experience a new way of thinking or he can see other people's viewpoint. So I think slowing down helps us to really understand what's underneath what's going on. And when people are not, they don't know how to go inside that space, and they maybe sometimes they avoid. I remember using this
Mhm.
metaphor, somebody used this metaphor. It's like when you're driving a car and let's say an emergency light goes on, and instead of addressing what's going on under the hood, you put a tape over that, like you
Mhm.
cover that light, right? Emergency light. And when when you hear a noise, the car is making noise, you put this car radio louder so you don't hear the noise. And
Yeah.
so all those signs are starting to tell you that something is going on under the hood. So if
Yes.
you don't know how to look under the hood and figure out what's going on, then you won't be able to fix it. So you can be flexible, you can be in balance. So I think that's a really, really important point. And and it takes practice, right? It takes practice to look under the hood. It takes practice to understand what are you looking at.
I was just thinking that I feel like, when we are in school, we learn the stop, drop, and roll when there's a fire, right? Or if you catch on fire or there's fire or something. So it's so, I think the challenge here is to implement the ability for us to recognize when things start moving fast, when things can be like the awareness of when that happens so we can slow down. Like we can slow down in a conversation, in a conflict, to recognize what are those signs that are showing us that there's something happening. And I have a great example actually today. I had a conversation with a CEO, and it was so interesting. From the moment that we started interacting, I can tell he had a lot of anxiety about something. I don't know exactly what. His car was in the shop, and then he couldn't get to work. And then he was just like struggling a lot with a lot of anxiety. And there was an issue with something going on like in his business, and he kind of just, when he was expressing that, it came like he was talking really fast, and he started to express it in a way that sounded like he was blaming me, and I had nothing to do with the issue whatsoever. Like I was so removed, like you know and I was like, oh, interesting. And I can tell the intensity of his voice, there's like so much anxiety, talking fast, you know, like giving instruction, commanding, all of that stuff starts to come out, you know? And I can tell by all of these signs what was going on. And actually, when I got off the phone with him, I was like, oh, I need like coffee. I need to I don't
Rebalance
know.
myself.
Yeah, wow, that was really intense. And it was interesting because I could see him even just like not really being, in front of him. I could sense that intensity. I could even like talking about it. I feel like, oh my God, that was like so intense. And I
Mhm.
could also sense his like something was going on. I didn't know what was going on, but he was like trying to calm himself, and he like chews this gum, you know, and when he has a lot of anxiety, I can tell he's like chewing very, very intensely and rapidly,
Yeah. Mhm.
and like he had a lot of excited energy, and at the same time there was like a lot of anxiety, you
Mm.
know. So I think in those moments, it's very important to recognize, like, oh, wow, there's like a lot going on here. And the tangible thing, like we say, slow things down. Well, I think what that actually looks like is recognizing or asking. One of the things I do right away is I say, and I learned this in the EMC process, like, hey, like, let's just take a deep breath. Like, let's take a deep breath and slow down for a moment. Like, let's see what's going on here. How are you doing? Are you okay? That's usually my first questions, to wanting to slow it down. Right. But like, in order to be able to do that, you have to be able to hold your own as well, like, or to even recognize, maybe if you can't necessarily do that at the moment that it's happening, you have to be able to recognize, like, whoa, and speak it out loud. Like, that was really intense. Like, wow, I feel a lot of anxious feelings. Like, wow, that was a lot, you know?
Mhm.
So that you can say those things out loud and come back to balance, you know?
Mm. When I listen to the people as you explaining with a lot of anxiety, I
Mhm.
use attachment framework. I go to the
Mhm.
attachment needs, like what I'm trying to really tune into the anxiety. What are they telling me? What
Mhm.
attachment needs are they missing?
Yeah.
What is going
Mhm.
on for them? So I start to provide them reassurance so they can feel like I really get, how difficult it is for them in that moment. Because if
Mm.
you just hold their space without saying anything, that is very difficult. It's like you are not really engaged. So they are telling you something and they are looking for something, but they sometimes don't even know what they're looking for. And so
Yeah.
they're rambling, and they may be giving instructions or blaming. But what they're really telling you is that I feel so helpless.
Mhm.
I feel helpless, or I feel somehow lost, or I feel isolated, or I feel alone in that moment. I
So give
feel,
example. I feel like it's very important that people get a clear understanding of what they should do. What are the things they could implement in the situation like this that they can do every single day, just a little micro habit to get them to understanding or, reframing, or what does that look like?
well, the first thing is thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
Right? Thank you for
So
sharing. I hear you.
saying thank you for
I,
sharing.
yeah, thank you for sharing. I hear you. I hear how difficult that is for you. That's number one, right? That just like acknowledging, validating that you hear them. You hear them. You are getting their helplessness because that's what they're
Mhm.
talking about. They're talking about the helplessness in that moment. The second thing that I would say is that you are so strong and courageous. Wow, to deal with that, right? It's not easy in the moment of stress, in the moment of busy and lots going on for you. Wow, you're so strong and courageous to deal with that because what are the people looking for? They are looking for acknowledgement. They are smart, they're competent,
They
that
wanna
they're
be
valued,
valued. Yeah, heard,
exactly. They're
seen,
heard, they're
understood.
seen, they're valued, they're important, they matter. What are they, that's what they're looking for. In the moment when they are going at it and feeling like they're
Mhm.
falling through space or they're shutting down, that they don't know what to say. They
Yeah.
really need that support, emotional support, that they feel competent, that they're not judged in that moment. They're not provided any solutions or feedback, right? They're not really provided um, anything that they have to do, or somehow they start to feel like they don't know what they're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think tuning in and slowing down to just really hearing them and hearing their emotion. That's what you really, when you slow down, you're trying to hear people's emotion. And again, the most common emotion that people feel is helplessness in that moment.
Mhm. Okay, so that would I yeah, I think that's very good to be clear about. Number 1, say thank you for sharing. Use that line, memorize that line, and say it over and over again. When someone's complaining, someone's blaming, shaming, criticizing, judging, thank you for sharing. Number
I see
2,
how difficult, right?
Two
Yeah.
is to acknowledge how
Yeah.
difficult their experience is and
Yes.
validate it. So, saying a phrase like, I see how difficult it is, it must be very difficult for you. That makes sense. Gosh, I can only imagine how difficult that is. That's number 2. Number 3 is you can also reframe and like repeat it back to them, like, gosh, that must, sometimes if people don't realize that they feel hopeless or they feel alone or they feel like they are lost, you can say, like, gosh, sounds like or you can say, yeah, that would feel very hopeless,
Yeah.
helpless, like you're lost. And then using reassuring phrases like, it makes sense, I get it, you're not alone.
It takes so much courage and strength to share.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I also, maybe not at the beginning, but later, once you acknowledge, I like what you're saying, acknowledge, validating, so people feel heard, seen, valued, is to now reframe it into a negative cycle, right? Wow, it sounds like you guys maybe stuck in a negative cycle, or it sounds like a negative cycle has taken over your interaction or relationship, right? Maybe
Yeah.
later on, but also to bring attachment significant. I know how this person is important to you, how
Mm,
important this person is. I know how important this relationship is to you. I know how
yes.
hard you're working. I know how much you care,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I know how much they care. This person cares. But because again, when people are expressing their dissatisfaction and feeling all this anxiety, they start to feel like they don't matter, or maybe they're not valued, right? And
Mm-hmm.
somehow this person doesn't see them as valued. So we want to bring that attachment significant. Maybe they are getting that message, but that message most of the time is
Missed.
missed. Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, it just seems so simple, you know? You just say
It's
those few phrases.
right, right. And look how courageous you were to not provide this person a solution or dismiss his feelings, but to just reassure
Yeah,
how
I did. I
difficult it
said
is
like,
for
"Oh
you.
man, that must have been really difficult. That is terrible. It's so terrible that that
Right.
happened."
And you
Gosh.
also created safe space for this person to share with you.
Mhm.
Right, that is a huge gift for people to know. How do I create safety? How do you
Yeah.
create safety for people to share, not feel judged, not you know but to really know that I'm there for them.
Well, I definitely think that the very first step is learning these phrases and starting to implement them, starting to say them, start to use them, start to have this become your love language,
That's wonderful. Yes.
your business language, you
Your
know?
business love language,
It's
exactly.
because when you use it, you're actually bringing more love into your relationships and into your world because you're having the empathy and understanding. And I don't necessarily believe the significance of picking one love language over another, because I think they're all so important. But in the business sense, in the world where we can create a culture of connectedness and a culture where people thrive, and it's 2026, guys. It's time. We are smart. We have robots now. We have self-driving cars. It's time to integrate this kind of expression into the workplace. So, just to reiterate, how to integrate this kind of communication understanding into your everyday life in this new year and new me, and ways to improve the leader in you, is to use these phrases. Thank you for sharing is the first. I hear you. It must be so difficult for you. I can only imagine how hard it is. I get it. This makes sense. Validating, understanding the person's perspective, and then reassurance. They must be really important to you. You must really value that relationship. And just knowing that you have that space for them is going to significantly just pull them back to balance. It's like getting a lasso and just bringing them back to keep them right in the lane they need to be in.
Well, I don't know if you ever watched Ted Lasso show.
Yes.
Have you seen it? Well, there
Yes.
was like one scene where he's talking to the team, and
Okay.
that they lost a game or something, but he says that it's painful to lose, but
Yeah.
you're not doing it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When we are not doing it alone, when we feel supported and cared for, and we know that we can reach for each other, we can be there for each other, that creates a lot of strength to deal with stress and with loss and with
Yes.
pain, like losing a game or losing a contract, losing whatever. And just having that courage again to stand up and say, we can do it together.
I love it. Well, with that, guys, we are so grateful to have you here, to have you listening, to watching us. If you're watching us on YouTube, we now have really fantastic videos and shorts on TikTok and Instagram. So you can follow us, EMC Leaders or Dr. Lola EMC. My name is Polina, and this is Dr. Lola, and we're here with the Leader in You podcast brought to you by EMC Leaders. Remember that your year starts now. And if you want to learn more about all this stuff and learn the process and become an expert like we are, learn how to regulate yourself, de-escalate situations, and become the most incredible leader in you, then you can go to our website, emcleaders.com, and get the course and sign up and implement it into your company, to your teams, to the leadership and development part of your organization. And most importantly, we're here for you.
Thank you, Palina. It was fun conversation. Thank you, everyone. We'll
And
see you soon.
we'll see you next week.